This is Daily Armenia, CivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what you need to know today. Armen Grigoryan, the head of Armenia Security Council, has met for the first time with Andriy Yermak, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's chief of staff, on the sidelines of a Kyiv-backed peace summit. In a statement yesterday, Zelensky's office said the two officials discussed strengthening cooperation, in particular on issues of European integration, and exchanged views on regional security challenges. There is a new context to bilateral relations between Yerevan and Kyiv, the statement added. Grigoryan joined more than 60 other national security advisors from around the world for closed-door Ukrainian-backed peace talks on the island nation of Malta. Moscow, which did not send representatives, condemned the summit as blatantly anti-Russian. The first-of-its-kind meeting between Grigoryan and Yermak comes as Armenia's relations with Russia, its traditional security guarantor and main economic partner, continue to fray, with anger mounting in Yerevan over Moscow's unwillingness or inability to come to Armenia's defense in line with its treaty obligations. Against that backdrop, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan met for the first time briefly with Zelensky earlier this month on the sidelines of a European Union summit in Spain. Armenia and Azerbaijan have reached a preliminary understanding on the foundational principles for a future peace treaty, according to Pashinyan. Essentially, I should state that the three main principles for the normalization of relations and peace with Azerbaijan are agreed upon, Pashinyan told lawmakers today in Yerevan. He listed those principles as mutual recognition of territorial integrity, recognition of former Soviet-era administrative boundaries as international borders, and recognition of states' sovereignty over pieces of infrastructure located within their territories. If the parties remain faithful to those agreed principles, signing a peace and normalization treaty becomes realistic, Pashinyan insisted. There was no immediate comment from the Azerbaijani government on the matter. In addition, Pashinyan said he hopes an as-yet unimplemented agreement from last year to partially reopen Armenia's long-sealed border with Turkey would go into effect in the near future. He did not provide any more concrete timeline for that. In related news, the EU has called on Armenia and Azerbaijan to reach a peace deal in the next 2 months. Brussels calls on the parties to engage in good faith and to finalize the normalization process by the end of this year, the EU's decision-making council said over the weekend following a major European summit. There have been no formal meetings between senior officials from Yerevan and Baku since Azerbaijan's lightning offensive against Nagorno-Karabakh last month, which resulted in the collapse of the local government and the mass exodus of the region's 100,000 Armenians. Pashinyan was due to meet with Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev earlier this month in Spain for talks mediated by the leaders of the European Council, France, and Germany, but Aliyev pulled out of the negotiations at the last minute. European Council President Charles Michel then said he expected to meet with Pashinyan and Aliyev for three-way talks in Brussels sometime later this month, but a senior EU diplomat indicated last week that meeting had been postponed. Since the 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh war, the EU, with US support, has coordinated one track of Armenia-Azerbaijan peace talks, while Russia has overseen a separate track. So far, neither has made any discernible progress toward a peace deal. India is mulling over supplying a fresh batch of military equipment to Armenia. That's according to India's Economic Times newspaper, which reported on the possible arms deal late last week, citing unnamed sources with knowledge of the matter in Yerevan and New Delhi. A senior Armenian official visited Delhi recently and held discussions in this regard. Details of fresh supplies are not known yet, but the consignment could include equipment that would help to create a deterrence effect, the newspaper reported. The Armenian government has so far not commented on the report, and CivilNet has not been able to independently confirm the news. Since 2020, Armenia is understood to have purchased a number of anti-tank missiles, multi-barrel rocket launchers, and radar systems, as well as rockets and ammunition from India, though officials in both countries have kept mum on the subject. The past few years have seen a considerable expansion in cooperation between Armenia and India, with each country backing the other in their respective conflicts with Azerbaijan and Pakistan. The report of possible new weapons purchases from India comes less than a week after Armenia and France signed a first-of-its-kind arms deal that will allow for purchases of European-made radar systems, short-range surface-to-air missiles, and other defense equipment. Last week, Pashinyan told the Wall Street Journal he is seeking to diversify Armenia's relations in the security sector, while also insisting he is not considering withdrawing the country from its defense arrangements with Russia. And finally, the CivilNet number of the day is 9.7. That's the percentage by which Armenia's Economic Activity Index grew in the first 9 months of the year, according to the freshest batch of economic data from the country's state-run statistical committee. For that story and the rest of our quarterly economic update, you can check out the latest edition of CivilNet's weekly business digest up now on our website and YouTube channel. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.